Oh, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Unity of Calgary online Sunday gathering. My name is Alara Payton. I'm the prayer chaplain and prayer team trainer and coordinator, and I'm delighted to be your service coordinator today. And I offer a special welcome to those of you who are new to our community. Please know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're always welcome at Unity of Calgary. Let's take a moment to center in affirmative prayer. With each breath we take, we are reminded of our true divine nature. In our bones, we remember, I am an expression of the one power and one presence. Divine wisdom guides me. Divine love empowers me. I am a living expression of divine wisdom, divine love, divine life, divine vitality, and divine power. I see and know this is true for all human beings that I meet each and every day. I center in my truth as I open to receiving the wisdom gifts available to me during our time together today. And now I'm going to read our daily word. Oh, I guess I'm doing statement of being first. So our statement of being, this is the reason that we gather. Why do we bother gathering together rather than simply being on our own? We are here for this reason. So please affirm with me together our reason for being here. We are here as love to celebrate the one power, the one presence in our lives, in this community, and in the universe. And now our daily word. So our daily word today, out of the daily word booklet that's been around for 120 some years, the word is faith. And the statement is, with faith, nothing is impossible for me. And that is based on a verse in Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. That reads, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. And so the reading based on this is, with gratitude, I use my faith to trust in the good that is always present, even when it has not yet manifested. As I pray with faith, I discern the truth that always endures through even the most difficult circumstances. As I concentrate on harmony and love, all thoughts of lack, limitation, and discord simply dissolve. As I speak with faith, I use positive words to express my belief in myself and others as divine beings. As I act in faith, I access deep, lasting strength and fortitude that help me surmount any challenges. Inspired by my faith, I move forward with confidence. Nothing is impossible for me. So may you be blessed by those words today. And if you would like to access the daily word each day online, you can go to our unityofcalgary.org website, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and the daily word reading is there for you. Now, Unity of Calgary is part of a worldwide movement that started as an educational and prayer movement. We have adopted the worldwide vision, so I invite you to affirm our vision with me. We envision a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And our community developed a mission statement to support that vision. And so please affirm with me our mission statement at Unity of Calgary. We are a welcoming, vibrant, spiritual community that inspires hearts and transforms lives by expressing our divine essence. So if that vision and mission resonates with you, then our community would love to get to know more about you and have you be a part of bringing forth this powerful vision into the world. And here are the upcoming events at Unity of Calgary. Even though we're not currently meeting in person, there are things going on in our community. And the first item is the coffee chat that happens in a Zoom room a few minutes after our last song of our gathering today. The coffee chat link is in the newsletter that gets sent out each week, and it's on our website. So I look forward to meeting you in the Zoom room afterwards, where we'll have the delight of having our speaker with us today in the Zoom room. And next week, we have Reverend Doug Craig speaking for us. He is one of our regular speakers, and his topic next week is beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. October 4th, the Facebook and YouTube live stream are going to be produced live from our new location, which is the Willow Ridge Community Association in the Acadia area of South Calgary. So our team will all be there, including our live Unity band, rather than having their wonderful recordings that we've been listening to over these months. And big excitement, we will be starting to meet again in person on October 18th at our new Willow Ridge home. So please do stay tuned for the details on the mandated guidelines that we'll be following for our in-person gatherings. And October 11th, Thanksgiving is right on the horizon, and we will be having our online Thanksgiving. So this will be the first time where it's only being virtual, and we will be having a Thanksgiving ceremony. So we'd love to have you join us then, and perhaps you'll feel moved to invite family or friends to enjoy our Thanksgiving gathering with us. And these are the many ways that you can stay connected to us. We have our website and Facebook, on YouTube. And we really do believe that the best way is to stay connected through our newsletters. So if you haven't signed up for our weekly newsletter, I do encourage you to do that at unityofcalgary.org. And if you did sign up and you were getting the weekly emails, but they're not coming into your inbox anymore, please do sign up again, as we've had some people dropped by the system. And now it is time to enjoy some more music with Anthony Burbidge and the Unity Band singing an Anthony Burbidge original song, Many Rivers.
Many minds refuse to change. There is one source of life. We all know this deep inside. Like many rivers, all returning, and they're all
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that Unity Band. And today it is our delight to have Wendy Karr as our speaker. Wendy is a licensed Unity teacher and an historian, and she is speaking on the topic, The House That Spiritual Principles Built. Using this month's Unity theme of My Search for Home is Already Mapped. The Way is Written on My Heart. That's the Unity wide theme. She's using that as a starting point, and she will share how the planning and building of the physical buildings at Unity headquarters in Kansas City area have demonstrated spiritual principles that can be applied in our own lives. Wendy has been a member of the Unity movement since 1984 and recently celebrated her 20th anniversary as a licensed Unity teacher. She currently serves as licensed Unity teacher representative and education coordinator for Unity Canada, as well as serving on Unity Worldwide Ministries licensed Unity teacher ministry team. Her current endeavor is teaching spiritual education and enrichment classes, C classes, by video conferencing, where learners from across Canada are joining together weekly to study the Unity principles and the Unity perceptions of the Bible. I am really excited to hear what Wendy has to say about Unity Village because I visited there several times and it is a magical miracle place. So please help me welcome Wendy Karr.
Hello, Calgary. Thank you for the invitation. This is very exciting for me. It's been a while since I've been out your way, and it's wonderful to see and feel your presence today. So, I'm actually not going to talk too much about Unity Village. I'm going to talk about how we got to Unity Village. So, if I could have the next slide, please. So, we start with our co founders on the next slide. Thank you. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Some of you may know a bit of the history of them. I'm going to give you a very quick reference just so you've got a grounding for what I'm going to talk about in the broader. So Myrtle was actually older than Charles. She was born on the 6th of August of 1845 in Pagetown, Ohio, which was actually her family's town. Charles was born kind of in the middle of nowhere outside of St. Cloud, Minnesota, on the 22nd of August of 1854. They had very different childhoods in terms of parent influence, in terms of sibling influence, but the one thing that they had in common was that they had health issues. Charles as a result of an accident, Myrtle because there was tuberculosis running in the family, and the belief and what she was taught was that she would get tuberculosis, and sure enough, she did. And we now know that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. If I could have the next slide, please. Charles and Myrtle meet up in Texas in 1876. Charles, at this point, is a real estate assayer. He's helping to plan out the western part of the U.S. as it's expanding. Myrtle is a school teacher. Some of you may realize that as a school teacher, she was not allowed to marry and continue working. So she had believing that she would die of tuberculosis at a young age, she had focused herself on her teaching. They met at a literary society meeting, and as Myrtle got up to give a recitation, Charles later reported that something within him said, "There is your wife." They were married 5 years later, actually back in Ohio, or sorry, in Missouri. They went all over the states. It gets very confusing trying to keep track of them without a GPS. After their marriage in Missouri, they went to Colorado. That seemed to be the best place, mountain air. You folks in Calgary are well familiar with that. And they started their family. Now, Myrtle had been raised with traditional Christian thinking. Charles was kind of a mixed bag. He grew up with parents who had, in essence, divorced, although there really wasn't paperwork around it. But he had joint custody of him, and he would live partly with his dad and partly with his mom. So out of that, you sort of look at these two. If you just looked at their history prior to 1885, you would say, what's up with these two? There's nothing that would say that they would become the founders of a spiritual community that's grown worldwide. And at this point, up to 1885, they're really nomadic. They're all over Texas and Colorado, and it peaks into Missouri. This is where the real estate is happening. So I kind of think of them as being rather nomadic at that point. But their hearts were in the right place. Their hearts were where we need to go, we will go. They weren't absolutely committed to being in one place. Now, by 1885, Myrtle's health is starting to deteriorate. She's had two sons in fairly rapid succession, 1882 and 1884. And any woman who's had a child will tell you that it does wreak havoc on the body. And this was causing her a lot of problems. And the doctors of the time said that she had 6 months, maybe a year. And I ask you to consider, what that must have been like having two small children and being given a terminal diagnosis. So, as any of us would probably do, she started to search for an answer, for a cure, for something that would save her life. And she not only did things of lotions and potions, apparently there was quite the cupboard full of them in their house, but she also went to lectures. And in 1886, she heard a lecture. We don't know much about the lecture. We know that it was a metaphysical a teacher from the Chicago area. We know the person's name was E.B. Weeks. Beyond that, I haven't been able to find a lot. I haven't done a lot of research, but it's not something that pops up to the surface. What pops up to the surface when you search for E.B. Weeks on Google is the line that Myrtle came away with. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. And this begins a period of nesting for Myrtle. She starts to spend considerable time in prayer and meditation. And she does twofold. She does forgiveness work, asking her body to forgive it all the thoughts she had. And she asks her body to affirm and acknowledges and gives great blessing to her body for what it is capable of doing. By 1889, so about 2-3 years, she is pregnant again, and she carries her third child full term. That for me is a symbol and explanation of she is fully healed, that her body could tolerate that. Now, her husband Charles, not having been raised in a Christian home, was kind of watching this and kind of having some thoughts about what's going on with my wife. Now, he attended the classes with her, he attended lectures with her, but being a very intellectual man, he really didn't get into it. But then their son was born. And how can he deny the evidence in front of him? So he starts to read. And he finds that there's conflicting ideas about what is and what God is and what our purpose is. And he writes, the muddle was so deep that for a while I was inclined to ridicule. Yet I couldn't get away from the evidence of a great power back of the flood of contradictory statements. I noticed, however, that all the teachers and writers talked a great deal about the omnipresent, omniscient God, who is spirit and accessible to everyone. I said to myself, in this babble, I will go to headquarters. If I am spirit and this God they talk so much about is spirit, we can somehow communicate, or the whole thing is a fraud. And then Charles, too, started to work on practicing some prayer time. And he writes that it took him a while before he felt like he was getting it. And I got thinking about how this fits in with our going home. Sometimes we don't know where home is because there's that home that is our physical location, but there's also that sense of where does our heart belong? Where does our purpose belong? So Charles writes that I kept at it, at this sitting in the silence, sitting in the quiet, month after month, mentally affirming words that others told me would open the way until it got to be a habit, and I rather enjoyed it. However, a time came when I began to observe that I was having exceedingly realistic dreams. For months I paid no attention to them, my business at that time being of the earthly, buying and selling real estate. The first connection that I observed between the dreams and my affairs was after closing the purchase of a piece of property I remembered I had dreamed about the whole transaction some months before. And this is part of our trip home. This is part of our heart home, is that We need to be aware and alive to the ideas around us, whether it comes through our dreams, whether it comes through an ad, whether it comes through something that we have in a conversation. So Charles had another dream in which he was told that he needed to stay in Kansas City, that he had work to do. And so they really began to settle down as a family and grow roots in the community. So if I could have the next slide, please. They initially lived sorry. Um, so in the on the left is the picture of the Journal building, which was the place where Charles had his real estate business. And in 1889, he published the first issue of Modern Thought, which is the precursor to Unity magazine. And that's kind of taken as the starting point of the Unity movement. So in April, everybody jump up and down and say happy birthday to us. He gave up his real estate work completely. He felt that this was his new home. And in 1889, he and his wife, Myrtle, wrote the dedication and covenant. And you can see the text on the side there. And it reads, we, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, do hereby dedicate and consecrate ourselves to the work of the Spirit. And it goes through and it states everything that they will do and the expectation that they have. So this is really their core piece of deciding what home looks like to them. And what home looks like to them is that they will commit themselves to what they called the Society of Silent Help, which became Silent Unity, which became the Society of Silent Unity, which became Silent Unity, and there's a whole other bunch of names and titles, which I'll skip right now. But it's a sense that you have that the idea has finally germinated into a vision. And isn't that what we want for our heart home? We also want it for our home, for the physical beings. We want the heat to come on as appropriate in the winter. We want to be able to get cool on hot summer days. We want the plumbing to work effectively. But that heart space, that is so important to understand how that functions and how that works. If I could have the next slide, please. So while we're doing that, so they lived in a number of places. And what happens though is that as they've gone into this commitment, people are starting to be attracted to them. And haven't we had that experience of someone comes back and you can see in their face that they've had a wonderful vacation or they've attended an amazing class or lecture, and you want to know more, you want to be part of that. And what happened was that people started showing up at their doorstep wanting prayer because word got around that this couple over on, at this point, this is Ellis Street, they're doing amazing things. They're having people heal. In the bottom corner there, you can see Myrtle and her three boys. Left to right are Royal, Lowell, and Rickard. Next slide, please. So eventually, in 1898, we moved to McGee Street. And McGee Street really is the first home that isn't a physical home for the founders. This is when we really get going. It is in this book, in this home, in this building, that Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady is first published. This building became a combination prayer room, printing area. They had a closet door that had all the subscriptions on pieces of paper on a scroll on the back. So this began to be the home of unity. This is when we start to get sort of a formal setting. And this is true for our own path too, that there's a point at which we move from just having that divine idea that we nurture and germinate to the point that we share it with the world. We share our vision We share what it is we have to bring to this world. And as we do that, we attract others to us who have similar skills or have the skills that we don't have but are needed for the greater vision. In this case, we brought a gentleman named Harry Church, who was a noted printer. He came on board, and not only did he help with the printing of all of the tracts and books and magazines, but he also convinced the Fillmores that vegetarianism was an important part of their plan. And that opens up a whole case of the Unity Inn and the farm, which I don't have time to talk about this week, but join me at Unity of London next week in Ontario, and you can get the fill in. So we have Charles and Myrtle doing the healing work. They have become the conduits for this to happen. It's at McGee Street that we start moving away from a family-run function. We still have all of the Fillmores engaged, including Charles's mother, who did a lot of the cooking and cleaning. But we move into a place where others come. And we have a beginning of we need to grow because the idea is so big that it can't be contained in this small house. So if I could have the next slide, please. So by 1903, we have the first Unity Church, and it's called Unity Society of Practical Christianity. And that becomes the beginning of the movement as we know it. And this is a plan that was designed. As you can see, it's rather large. It actually was intended to encompass almost half a city block. The property that they were able to get was a bit smaller. But they did something, and this wisdom to me is so amazing. If I could have the next slide, please, was that they would buy property and they would use whatever was there until they had the means to take the next step. So rather than buying an empty plot of land, they actually bought where that tree is. There used to be a house, and they actually used that house until they had the funds and the materials ready to build the buildings that you can see there. In the right-hand picture, that's the building of the printing presses and the print buildings. So we got to the point where the home was greater, the home was expanding, and the home adjusted as technology came along. It's to me, it's really interesting. I love these pictures of the early buildings because I was raised on a book called Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel, and the steam shovels look exactly like the books of my childhood. So everything was encased within themselves. They moved away from having to have someone else take care of things. So no longer were outside printers used. Everything was done in-house. If I could have the next slide, please. By 1914, we had renamed ourselves Unity School of Christianity. The final work on Tracy didn't come out the way that the initial designs from an earlier period had come, but I just draw to your attention on the far left corner, we have the Unity Inn, one of the very first vegetarian restaurants in the Kansas City area. Next to it, and I think it says C, is the church, which still is in existence. It's actually the only building from this picture that still exists, Unity Church Universalist. And if you're in town, I invite you to go and take a look. Could we go back, please? Sorry. But we have printing presses. We have machine shops. We have housing for some of the staff. We have garages. We have our own mail trucks. We have our own buses that go around, pick up people from Unity, from Kansas City, to bring them to Unity Inn for lunch. We have this amazing time where the vision isn't just about the prayer, meditation, and teaching. It's about something greater, all of the physical supports that are needed. I love to give the analogy that life is like a coin, that it has an edge and it has a spiritual side and it has a human physical side. And that I like to try and roll on that edge as much as I can. And sometimes I waver one way or the other. But this for me is the true home. This is the beginning. And now I'm ready for the next slide, please. So in 1922, Unity became a pioneer in radio broadcasting. And I looked at this picture of them driving or building the tower up. There's no harnesses, there's no hard hats, there's, as far as I could tell, no steel-toed boots. Blessings to the men who raised that. But they had a time that they could expand and grow with the whole of the technology. Next slide, please. And then in 1919, we started the Unity Farm. Now, what I find really interesting was we moved away from it and then we moved back to it. But this was an opportunity to expand out into what was then the county. Now this area is surrounded by interstate highways and urban sprawl. But at the time, they found gas, they found oil. They had existing orchards because when they bought the property, they didn't tear things down. They reused the buildings, some of which are still on the Unity Village, to until they were ready, as they had before, with good stewardship, to build and expand. So this became their home away from home, their home on the weekend, their opportunity to get away from the city and go and be surrounded by all of this. Next slide, please. So some of you may recognize the beginnings of the tower in the background. So this is 1928 when we have a conference in town. We didn't have the motel or the new hotel. We had tents. But as you can see by the number of tents, there were a lot of people who joined in this vision and who wanted to participate. And this to me is the home of the heart, is what I'm doing, feeding myself spiritually and physically. It was, I'm sure, a wonderful time in spite of all the rain they had. So Rickert Fillmore, the number 2 son, did most of this planning. Next slide, please. And he had this amazing vision that things could be used and reused. This, you may not recognize it, is the first floor of what is now the UWM offices. Some of you may have been there when it was the education building. Next slide, please. So this shot I took in 1995. It's of the old fountains. The fountains were actually the air conditioning. Most of the administrative building was done by prefabricated concrete. So again, not only opportunities to be good stewards, but opportunities to share and expand. And I find it really interesting how many people that may not have been part of the spiritual part, but brought their skills and talents. And I think that's something we need to look at is, do you have a skill or a talent that can help me expand my spiritual growth? And the next slide, please. So this has been a trip, very quick. Usually I do 10 hours of this. But I hope you've had a sense of that we grow the vision, that we change the vision, that as things change, we take a look around and say, what needs to change? What do I need to change? What needs to change around me? And with that, I invite us to prepare for our meditation with some music, please.
I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms into the arms of love. I fall into the arms of love.
I will unmute myself. I invite you to do three things as we go into meditation. To recognize that whatever you're sitting on or in has divine wisdom and can support you, and thus you can allow your body to relax a little bit more. To allow my words and my voice to be your words and your voice. And finally, we'll take a few moments to breathe into the space where in your physical self you meet your divine self, that place of oneness, that place that is home. And as we come together, let us join in a flood of gratitude for all those who have gone before us, all those who have followed the call to express their vision, whether it's in a physical skill or a spiritual teaching. For those who have said, yes, here I am, use me. For those who have supported others who have brought a message of hope and peace and love to this world. To those in our own families who have supported us to this point. To the friends who have loved and blessed us. And to ourselves for being quiet enough to hear the voice that says, this is yours to do. Go. Find your heart. Find your home. And we open ourselves in this time that feels chaotic, that feels full of challenge. And we say, I am willing. I am excited to find my home. I am excited to see what new things and new ideas are waiting for me in that space. I release and let go anything that is holding me back. Acknowledging that sometimes the highest good can only be achieved when we let go of a lesser good. That just as a dog can only put so many sticks in its mouth, so too we let go of that which no longer serves. We bless it and let it go. And as ministries, including Unity of Calgary, move into a new space, the opportunity to share a new vision, to bring forward new skills, new ideas, new knowledge, and a new sense of who we are both as individuals and a community come forward. We open ourselves to this newness. And breathing, we take into our hearts all prayer requests at Unity of Calgary, all Unity churches, Silent Unity at Unity Village, the silent unities that exist throughout the world, and all prayer lists everywhere, and every prayer on every human heart. And we just breathe into it, knowing in the oneness there are answers. In the oneness there is comfort. In the oneness there is peace. In the oneness there is prosperity. In the oneness, there is wholeness. And for this time together, for this technology that allows us to meet and come together in a new sense of oneness, we are so grateful. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen.
I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of
Oh, thank you. Thank you to our speaker, Wendy, for helping us to understand how the principles worked through the Fillmores to come home to their own selves and then create home for others as a beacon of spiritual inspiration. And thank you to the band for all the ways that you support the message of us shining on and being bright through the light of our own life. And now we enter into a time of conscious giving. Together, using our time, talent, and treasures, we create this spiritual community together. And although we are not gathering in person for these many months, we decided that it was worth the investment in time, talent, and in technology to be able to bring forth the online streaming. And so we thank you for your support in bringing forth this heartfelt message out into the world. We know that the people who are regulars in our community and all the people that are touched in all the ways that they're touched make it worth the investment of time, talent, and treasures. You can donate by e-transfer to donate@unityofcalgary.org, or you can go to our website to the donate button, or you can send a check to our physical address as listed on our website. And I invite you to take a moment, perhaps put your hand on your heart, to affirm together our abundance affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. And here at Unity of Calgary, we love to celebrate children. The children in our lives, the children around the world, and our own precious inner children who are always growing and learning and evolving. So let's affirm together the blessing for the children. We love you, we bless you, and we appreciate you just the way you are. And here we are at another moment of prayer, a time of focusing on our true divine nature. Let's take a quiet moment now and bring to our awareness anything that we want to surrender into the power of prayer. For we know that turning our concerns over to Spirit opens the way for abundant blessings and healing to unfold. Wonderful. It's so simple to have a prayer pause at any moment of our day. And you can submit prayer requests to our prayer team that are also held in prayer, sent to Silent Unity. You can send those to prayer@unityofcalgary.org, or you can go to our website and submit it through the form there. We only pass on the first name to the prayer team because we trust that Spirit knows exactly what the prayer request is and what the highest and best good is for each person. And you can access 24-hour a day, 7 days a week prayer from Silent Unity down in Missouri, the very place that Wendy was showing us the development of. They hold your prayer request 24 hours a day for 30 days. And that is 1-800-NOW-PRAY or 1-866-969-2000. And we hold in prayer communities across the country who are bringing the Unity message. And this month in particular, we are holding Unity Center Hamilton and Unity Center of Kitchener. We see them receiving the love and support in time, talent, and treasure that allows them to bring this message into the world, the message of unity consciousness. Please join me in affirming out loud our prayer of protection. The light that is God surrounds me. I am one with the light. The love that is God enfolds me. I am one with the love. The power that is God protects me. I am one with the power. The presence that is God watches over me. I am one with the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well, and so it is. And now this is your opportunity to join in song with the Unity Band once again. Maybe you want to stand up, move around, and shake your booty a little bit as we sing together, Return to Love. Well, thanks once again to our speaker, Wendy Karr, for bringing her passion and her skills to us in her talk about spiritual principles and the home that that builds within and without. Thank you to the band, and thank you to the tech team who brings this StreamYard out into the world. We couldn't do it without the dedication of the people who are in the production room right now. We so appreciate and love you. I look forward to seeing you in a few moments in the coffee chat room. Remember, you can go to unityofcalgary.org and get the link there. And I do wish you a blessed week, everyone. Let's send a wave of love and peace out into the world as we sing our closing song, Let There Be Peace. Blessings.
Anybody home? Anybody home?
Hello. This is like, I have to have this set up ahead of time, just like you guys. uh, okay, when I come in, it says it's still live. Oh, turn the live off.